First of all, I want to tell you something. I'm not very comfortable with this, but I'm not going to stay away too much from my notes because I have the memory of a goldfish. So I just need to have my notes next to me. So that's the first thing I wanted to tell you. And unfortunately, you have noticed already that I have a very, very bad accent and that my English is not so great, but I have a very, very good excuse for that. I'm French. So, well, here is the definition of corporate social responsibility. It's a concept whereby companies integrate social and environmental concerns in their business operations and also in their interactions with their staff on a voluntary basis. So, well, here is the definition of engagement. It's the emotional and intellectual commitment of one individual to an entire organization that is supporting building and sustaining business performance. And if you ask me, I think that there are three dimensional aspects of engagement. The first one is physical, like sometimes at work you are feeling full of energy. This is physical. There is a second aspect which is cognitive. I feel like I am immersed in my work. And there is another one which is very important. It's emotional. Emotional is like, I love my job. That's emotional. And it's one of the dimensional aspects of engagement. Now we are going to see that CSR is serving those three aspects of engagement, especially the third one that I mentioned, which is emotions. Employee engagement and corporate social responsibility are two widely discussed topics by leading organizations today. I'm talking about global organizations here. Because an increasing number of companies are beginning to understand a very basic but very powerful formula. The companies that give back to the community become the companies that are successful at engaging their team members. And this is where the magic happens. It's here, it's the success. Corporate social responsibility drives employee engagement. Employee engagement drives corporate social responsibility. You are combining two very important aspects of the business, which is doing well, business performance, and doing good for the communities. I also wanted to tell you that incorporating responsibility into the employer's brand can enhance engagement, especially in very tight labor markets like the contact center industry. So the impact of corporate social responsibility can be felt in many areas of the business. Attraction of new talents, trust, loyalty, teamwork, productivity, brand recognition, respect, and eventually business growth. It's a war for talents that is happening right now in the BPO industry, especially in Bucharest. And employer differentiation is becoming more and more important. People, they want increasingly to work for an organization that is having a conscience, that is having strong values. I just would like to have a look to this figure because I think it's quite important. It's really showing how engaged most employees are in the world. And this is a very recent study actually made by Gallup, and it's involving 142 countries. You can see that only 13% of the people are engaged, and only 24% of the people are actively engaged. And I saw that and I said, wow, that's very scary, And why is that scary? Simply because employee engagement is so important for businesses that I think that it can serve as a real barometer for any company health, and I'm going to tell you why. These are a few figures, like it's again for Gallup and also from Forbes. When you have engaged employees in your organization, 70% of them tend to advocate their company versus only 3% of these engaged ones. You understand how crucial this is, especially in our industry, which is extremely competitive, the contact center and BPO industry, from the recruitment point of view. Also, we can figure out that people who are disengaged in companies tend to have more than twice 6 days that people who are engaged. Almost 80% of engaged employees recommend their company's products or services, whereas there are only 13% of these engaged people. I just wanted to share those few figures with you to tell you how important being engaged is for employees that are belonging to an organization. These engaged employees can drag down companies, whereas companies that engage their workforce are more successful at motivating and returning their team members, thus transforming them into brand ambassadors. And I like this idea of brand ambassadors because it's basically summarizing everything that I'm going to try to say here. Having a look to this slide, this is the result of the pulse check that we did. 76% of the people answered the survey. And the engagement score at TELUS International Romania is 72%, whereas the average at European level is 56%. The difference, you might say, between 56% and 72% is not that big. However, we are a BPO company, right? And in BPOs, you know, the engagement tend to be lower than in some other industries. So I would consider this number of 72% like a very good number. Now, when we are asking the people if they are having an interest in our organization in Romania for corporate social responsibility, 83% are saying, yes, I have a strong interest in corporate social responsibility. So, you know, I said, maybe we should try to dig this much further. And this is why the employees of TELUS International Romania who are in the room, you have received a questionnaire a few days ago, and these are going to be the results of the questionnaires, which was about the CSR impact on our team members. Well, it's incredible, but you can figure out that 83% of our staff are taking into account companies' commitment to social issues when they are looking for a job. So it's one of the drivers, not only in terms of engagement, but before you choose an employer, you are going to figure out if the employer is involved or not in terms of corporate social responsibility. To be honest, I was expecting these numbers, but not that big, and the next number is also impressive. 47% of our current employees in Romania would consider changing their job if their employer did not operate at all in a responsible manner. Wow. Can you imagine our company stops doing CSR from one day to another? There will be many more people leaving the company. And the biggest and most amazing number is this one. By the way, 120 people and 25 people answered the survey, so it's quite significant, right? It's not like 10% would have been answering the survey, it's 125. So we can rely on those numbers. We have been asking to these people, do you feel more engaged working in a company that gives back to the community? And 95% of them say, yes, I feel more engaged in this company because TELUS International is involved in CSR. Some other interesting figures, talking about the CSR actions that we run in TELUS International Romania. Almost 100% of our team members are aware that our main corporate social responsibility event is the TELUS Days of Giving. So only a few percentage of them do not know about this, and I would bet that these are new joiners. So communication is working, and communication is very important also for engagement, of course. Also, the same number of respondents, it's funny, but the same number, 96% appears on those three. So the same number of respondents feel proud about it and think that this event is done in a sincere manner. And why I think that being sincere is very important is that you can see a lot of companies that are doing CSR, but just for the sake of doing CSR because it can help them from the communication point of view. On their website, they might say things about corporate social responsibility, say that they care, but in the end, when you are asking the employees of these organizations, they don't even know what we are talking about, right? Well, CSR, oh, is my company doing CSR? So that's why these numbers are important. Employees who feel deeply engaged and passionate through CSR will deliver beyond expectations. They will have a high sense of purpose. They will have a high sense of belonging and a very strong bond, of course, with the company and its brand. CSR translates into job satisfaction, higher level of commitments, and less inclination for turnover. So when employees view their company commitment to social responsibility favorably, they also tend to have a very positive and favorable attitude towards it. And it's impacting many other areas that correlates with better performance, such as customer service, which is of course crucial in our industry. This quote from Henry Ford, have you heard about this? Actually, I love it because a business indeed that makes nothing but money is a very poor kind of business. And you know, I want to share a story with you guys. I was not planning to share this story with you today, but I'm going to do it because it's something that happened very recently. Someone I know heard about what our company is doing in terms of corporate social responsibility, and he told me, "What are you guys doing? What are you guys doing with corporate social responsibility? You are a company. You should make money and that's it. Try to make as much money as possible. This is your role as a company, as a business." And you know, I was shocked. I was like, I think that this guy is having it all wrong. This is not the sole purpose of the companies to do money. I think that it's not the sole purpose of NGOs and governments to try to make people feeling good outside of their organizations. This is the role of every one of us, and every single company. We should all work trying to make the world a better place. I think that there is one video which is really demonstrating this sense of higher purpose than just money and business growth. Our mother company, TELUS, is making billions Canadian dollars revenue last year. It's connecting millions of people every year. But I think that the people at TELUS, at our mother company, they understood that the people are much, much more important than any big figures. And this is very well reflected in a video that I'm going to share with you right now.
T-minus 20 seconds and counting. 17 seconds and counting. Guidance internal. 10, 9. Ignition sequence starts. Engines on. 5, 4, 3, 2. All engines running. Liftoff. We have liftoff. 39 minutes past the hour.
So now I'm asking you, what kind of companies do we want to work with? Do we want to work with companies that drove the world to the global financial crisis, or do we want to work with companies like TELUS that are having strong values and that they are doing this with the heart, with a true sincerity? Volunteering creates sense of purpose. Myself, for example, I want to be able to do something good with my life. I want to do something good with my time. And when I'm looking at myself in the mirror, I'm home and I'm saying, what did I do today? Oh, good, the company is growing. I mean, our operations in Romania are growing so fast. That's good, but that's not enough, right? So I think that it's time for me to tell you about concretely, because this was about rhetoric. Now we are going to see why do we think that this event, just like the other CSR events that we are organizing in Romania or in so many countries in the world, why are they successful? Well, it's successful because, first of all, one of the main parameters is matched. You cannot make any corporate social responsibility if you don't treat your employees correctly. Employee treatment is a very strong indicator of a firm's CSR commitment. Corporate social responsibility, it needs to start inside the company. You cannot care about the communities outside if you do not first care about your own people, about your own staff. You know, in any scenario, it is important that employees have their employment needs met before they are called upon to be volunteers in any kind of event. Now, another aspect. You know, the credibility of corporate social responsibility is dependent on delivery, not on rhetoric. So the impact made in the community that needs to be measured, by the way, constantly measured, is key. Any corporate social responsibility event needs to make a significant difference if the employees are volunteering. Because if the work done is useless, can you imagine the TELUS Day of Giving, and at the end of the day you said, oh, the company made us work all day, but finally what we did is not very significant. It's not going to improve the life of the children, so then in terms of image, it's a disaster for the company. People might be very upset in case they realize that what they do is not impacting. Corporate social responsibility events should always bring a real difference in the beneficiary's life. I think that is key. Also, we should try to avoid having social actions which are one-shots. We should have really a long-term view. For example, this year, the TELUS Days of Giving in Bucharest is going to be in a school where the children of Cireșari Doi are studying. Cireșari Doi was an orphanage, actually a center for abused children. We refurbished entirely their center 2 years ago, and this year we are going to be doing the TELUS Days of Giving in the school where they study. So we keep the same beneficiaries so that we want really to have a long-term view about helping this very same population. So basically, my conclusion on this slide will be, it is important not to forget from one day to another, after the event is done, the communities that you help. I think that continuity is key. CSR-oriented companies like TELUS and TELUS International are developing their brand based on corporate social responsibility. So actually, the caring culture that we are having in our value proposition, caring culture is one of our main pillars. It means that CSR programs in our companies are somehow the extension of our own values. And that it's even, I would say, an integral part of our business. It's not something in addition, in plus of what we are doing. CSR is part of us. CSR is in our DNA. Something extremely important, and it's my fourth parameter. Everyone should be involved in CSR events, from agents, frontline agents, to executives, and they should be treated equally during the entire day. So this is a picture of our president, Jeff Puritz, the president of TELUS International. He is coming from Toronto, from Canada, every single TELUS Days of Giving. And he's joining a group of volunteers during the TELUS Days of Giving, and he is treated equally, like any other volunteer. I think that's key. Now, a fifth pillar, which I think is very important, is to have a variety of CSR programs. You know what? Because we are all having some noble causes. Myself, I am a father, so I'm more sensitive to children. When some people, had some people who had accidents in their family, so for them blood donation is more important. So it's important in any company to have a certain variety of CSR programs so that they can feel like their noble cause is served. TELUS International Europe Romania is supporting 8 families to make sure that there are 8 babies which are surviving with feeding, hygienic care, and medical and social cares, which are paid by TELUS International Europe Romania. We didn't communicate much about this, by the way. I was talking about heart, I was talking about sincerity. It's not all about communication. Some of you, it's the first time you hear about this project. But it's important for us, right, to do these kind of things. So we are doing it. And of course, I mentioned it several times during this presentation so far, is that corporate social responsibility is something you cannot pretend. If it's not coming from inside, if it's not coming from the heart, it's not going to work. And I just want you to watch this video, which is the video of Jeff Puritz. It's actually a speech that he gave last year in Central America at the Los Patistos School, where 2,000, I'm talking about 2,000 TELUS International Guatemala volunteers built a school from the ground up. And this speech is happening 6 months after. When the school has been done, 6 months after, Jeff Puritz is giving this speech.
It's remarkable what we can do if we think it's important and we do something about it. All you have to do is make a commitment. Recognize the importance of giving back to the community, and you can change the world. Give everybody an equal opportunity to have a rich life. And it starts with education. Education is the most powerful tool we have to change the world. I have the privilege of leading a team of 16,000 team members around the world. And every time I participate in events like this, it reminds me of our responsibility as members of the human race to do something to make the world a better place.
Actually, this is exactly what I meant when I said that you cannot do CSR if you don't feel sincere and if you don't have the heart for it, you know? Because Jeff told me he was having his notes in front of him, and at one point, he forgot about his speaking notes, and that was just improvising because he was feeling like this. And that was emotional. Again, I'm coming back to this word all the time. Emotional. I guess it's the time to conclude. So I'll be short. I just want to tell you that today, engagement and corporate social responsibility are widely discussed topics in global leading organizations. And as we saw it, it appears that there is a very strong correlation between the two, where employee engagement leads to CSR and CSR leads to employee engagement. And I think that organizations are really coming to realize the bottom line benefits of incorporating sustainability into their DNA. It's beneficial for the society as well as for the employee engagement, and is the right thing to do. Although just not any firm can do it because it requires the heart, as we said, in order to be successful. The conclusion of this presentation is no longer than 4 words. It's all about love. Thank you very much for being here today, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you, everyone.